It's no secret that ICT makes learning easy.
The strides made in our field could not be possible without it.
And now we can watch our favorite shows.
My radio is my best friend.
UCC provides an enabling regulatory environment and policy guidance for healthy competition. We also facilitate ease of doing business in the communications sector through licensing, standardization, spectrum management, tariff regulation, rural communication development, and consumer empowerment. An informed consumer is an empowered consumer. UCC supports local content and innovations. Driving the development of a robust communication sector in Uganda is Uganda Communications Commission.
Raising voices.
I feel happy when my mother spends time with me. I hope all mothers will like my mother. I want my mother to reach out to all mothers. She knows how important it is to be a good mother. I promise to help my mother inspire other mothers to change.
In this time of COVID, what is your promise to the children of Uganda? Because a violence-free childhood is everyone's right. Raising voices.
Patriotism is a feeling of love, devotion, and the willingness to sacrifice for one's country.
I say no to corruption because I put my country first. I choose peace over violence because I put my country first.
I love Uganda. I serve Uganda. I sacrifice for Uganda. I'm loyal to Uganda. I love myself.
Be patriotic. Uganda first. This message is brought to you by the National Secretariat for Patriotism Co-Uganda, Office of the President.
Raising voices.
As a teacher, I have the opportunity to shape how children grow and learn. I believe in creating a non-violent school where children feel safe and respected. I promise to lead by example and create a different kind of relationship with my learners, one that helps them grow.
In this time of COVID, what is your promise to the children of Uganda? Because a violence-free childhood is everyone's right. Raising voices. Raising voices.
Like other fathers across Uganda, I'm standing up to say no to violence against children. I commit to give my children a violence-free childhood. As fathers, we can make Uganda safer for our children. I promise to speak out when I see violence.
In this time of COVID, what is your promise to the children of Uganda? Because a violence-free childhood is everyone's right. Raising voices.
It's time to teach. Schools are open. In these days of COVID-19, teachers are not only giving knowledge, but protecting themselves and their students from the virus. As a teacher, you must ensure that students follow the set SOPs of always maintaining a distance of 2 meters from others in classrooms, dormitories, entertainment halls, school vans and playgrounds, wearing a washed and clean mask every day that covers their mouths and noses, and regularly washing their hands with soap and water. In addition to that, you must counsel students about stigma related to COVID-19 and discourage them from violence. Any violence against students from classmates, teachers or parents should be reported immediately to a school administrator or senior woman or man teacher for correction and further guidance. Ensuring everyone's safety is key, so make sure students are out of class by the official closing time. Let's share.
Live from UBC Studios in Kampala. This is Good Morning Uganda.
Well, good morning to you all, and thank you so much for waking up with us here on Good Morning Uganda. Definitely, you're also #1 broadcaster, UBC. Now, today, 15th of February 2022, quite revealing a roller coaster of events that did happen yesterday. Some people walked in very sad this morning, others walked in quite in flares of happiness. And it's of course evident on the looks of everyone this morning, which you'll see for yourself in your offices, on the roads. So be very careful as you drive. Do not tempt anyone, do not provoke anyone. For everyone's reaction this morning will definitely depend on how they were treated last evening. Good morning to you once again, and we're here, the Mighty Four, trying of course to give you all that we did promise to do, give you in terms of current affairs, international stories, and of course what's happening in Uganda. And of course, much of it did happen yesterday. Now, yesterday we did see court revisit some of the petitions, election petitions for members of parliament, and now some of them quite have chances. We saw the likes of Joyce Vagala, the likes of very many contendants who have cases in courts. We saw even in Kampala here, Central. So look out for who will be staying in parliament or actually leaving parliament. But on top of that also, most of the stories yesterday were marked by Valentines. The big question, how was your Valentine? Were you your Valentine? As Robert said, people buy gifts and send them. Did you focus on self-love? Sometimes people share it in that nice saying, self-love. Or did you as a family enjoy it together? Did you make some commitments? Did you rejuvenate some, you know? What was your Valentine's like? And me, I would want to first ask the ladies. And I'll start with Philo. Good morning, Philo.
Good morning, Felix.
How are you?
Good morning, viewers. Thank you for joining us once again this morning. My Valentine's was amazing. It was great. Yes, I actually didn't expect it to turn out that way. I left this place with absolutely no plans of, indulging in any Valentine celebrations. But, there are always those people who just are there to remind you that you are loved. So it was good. I cannot complain. And also, I don't want to start off on a very sadistic note, but for the people that didn't really turn out as they expected it to be, at least I want you to know that God loves you. That's the most important thing.
Yeah, right. Yeah. God's love is definitely always there, with or without Philo's affirmation. It is known, it is a given.
No, we need to remind them sometimes. You get caught up in the worldly love, like most people call it. So once in a while, you throw in that reminder.
All right.
Yeah.
So I saw Mollen walk in here this morning with her head high, all tall, with that catwalk, trying to be flair. The hair was in order. Good morning, Mollen.
Good morning, Felix.
How are you?
I'm doing
I'm
okay.
happy to see you
okay.
today.
Amazing. Oh, thank you. Thank you so much.
You look lightened up. You must have had a good day yesterday.
I had a good one. My
Valentine's
Day was just amazing. It's well, I foresaw that it was going to be nice. I just didn't know that it would be that nice, but it was amazing. One of the, best days.
Hey.
I could say that, but guess what? There's also one thing I noticed. Because I was able to go somewhere, at least have the dinner. But guess what? Also, from wherever I was, we did make a few stopovers for, like one for the road. So I noticed one thing. Most hotels were making these collective dinners, and it was tagged somewhere Valentine's dinner or lover's dinner. So what happens is that they have this kind of particular discount, and as a collective, people just go in there as a couple, and you find like 50 couples all sitting in the same tent. I'm like, it didn't make sense for me, because I felt like if you're going to have that Valentine's dinner, shouldn't it be like individually special for you instead of you going for this dinner that is kind of a collective? It didn't make sense for me, and I don't think I would have preferred that.
So where did you eat, madam?
Well, I was at Serena to go, but it was just amazing.
I guess you're going to eat in a bedroom.
It was just amazing seeing how people were really turning up in all these different places to just celebrate love, and it's a beautiful thing.
Well, clearly, as I go to Uncle Bob, Just to find out how his day was before I tell you what I actually did yesterday. I want to put a disclaimer that sometimes the truth is the best. Good morning, Robert.
Good morning, Felix. Good morning, Mollen, and good morning, lady in red. Well, my day yesterday wasn't as I expected it to be. Reason being, I had a very busy day.
The power of the truth.
No, I had a very busy day. No, you see, Phil, I had a very busy day. Despite the fact that I had a lot of excitement and ready for the day. Then around, I spent much of my day at KCCA court. So I left around 6:30, and I had this pounding headache. I just had to go back home and sleep. But then later on, I remembered what the Bible says about this day. First, come on, wait. You've given me a chance to speak. Let me speak. So what happens? The Bible is very clear, and I want to read a scripture to you. And that is Numbers.
This is happening.
This is Numbers 11, and it says, Numbers chapter 9 verse 11. In the second month of the 14th day in the evening, they shall keep it. They shall eat with unleavened bread and bitter herb. So on this day, there isn't so much of jubilating as such.
Robert, read the Bible.
No, I'm reading the Bible. And what happened to me, it reminded me of Romans 8:28 that says, all things happen together for the good of those who love God, those whom he called according to his purpose. So while I was in bed, I think, why am I feeling this bounding headache? Why can't I even go out because I'm so much in pain? I remembered Romans 8:28. And I said, maybe God was saving me something in case I went out yesterday. So that's
when I was growing up, my lovely grandpa, the late Ruboa, used to tell me that Kolo Jantama
Felix
Ngataina Suti. That used to be this. So every time you used to tell us that when they invite you, make sure you show up so people don't think that you're busy.
I'm thinking something bad must have really happened for Robert to stay home, because at least he would have had a reason. Like, you know, he always goes for journalistic purposes. Now I was counting on those. I was counting on those journalistic, stuff that you would come up with, and now I'm just disappointed. I'm like, Robert,
activity
really?
was everywhere. I could even hear the music from someone, But
now we have missed out on the real story, because if you were there, you would tell us what happened.
But you
now
see,
there must have
me,
been something really
every
bad.
weekend is more or less Valentine's, so you've not missed out.
Now we are that.
Friday, Saturday, I'll be there.
Now we are getting there. Every weekend,
it's
really?
Valentine's.
Well, as Robert clearly takes it hard to accept that some days are not meant for some people. And that's why some of those memes on WhatsApp, now I'm believing them that some days are for particular heights of men, and others will be But anyway, let's take a look at what's happening in local stories. And that's all I wanted to affirm, by the way, from Robert. What is important? But anyway, let's take a look at the local stories, international stories as well. But of course, we do tell you that we'll be bringing to you our normal drills. We'll be looking at our newsreel, the papers, going onto the roads, weather, nature and environment. And of course, crowding it all up, Robert will have a very, very basic interview about national matters. And of course, we can't fail to give you highlights in the world of sports. Now, what's trending internationally, and of course, what's trending locally. How far and how good are the leagues are setting up after the AFCON, for example? What's the performance of the guys who performed in all these tournaments? But of course, also touching a bit of NBA, soccer, golf, just to mention but a few. But for now, it is the time when we do take you through local stories. Robert.
And we'll kick it with the return of His Excellency Yoweri Kaguta Museveni on trips where he has been both in Congo, Brazzaville, and also where he headed to Ghana, where President Yoweri Kaguta Museveni returned from a 2-day working visit to Congo, Brazzaville, and Senegal. While in Congo, Brazzaville, on invitation by His Excellency Denis Sassou Nguesso, President Museveni held talks with his host in Oyo Town, situated in Calvert region. The talks centered on bilateral relationships between the two countries. The two leaders were later joined by their counterpart, His Excellency Felix Tshisekedi of Democratic Republic of Congo, and His Excellency Feburaury 15Th, who is for a mini, who joined them also for a mini summit on peace and security and transformation in the region. From Congo Brazzaville, President Museveni proceeded to Dakar in Senegal for a one-day working visit at an invitation of the president, that is Macky Sall, who is current chairperson of the African Union, that is AU. The two leaders discussed issues of bilateral relations ranging from issues of mutual interest, including security situation on the continent, as well as economic development of the African countries. President Museveni was accompanied on the trip by former Prime Minister Right Honorable Amama Mbabazi. On arrival back at Entebbe International Airport, the president was received by the Vice President, Major Jessica Alupo, Minister for Presidency, Honorable Babiri Mire Babalanda, and Head of Public Service, Secretary to Cabinet, Miss Lucy Nachowe. Others were the Deputy Chief of Defense Forces, Lieutenant General Peter Elauru, and Assistant Inspector General of Police, Andrew Soloweni, and the Commissioner General of Prisons Assistant, that is Samuel Akena.
Well, we move into judiciary, where Court of Appeal has kicked off with the conference hearing of over 80 parliamentary and local council petitions arising from the High Court decision of the 2021 January general elections. Now, talking to some of the petitioners and the respondents in these petitions, they hope for justice from the three justices of Court of Appeal who will preside over the petitions at the end of this month. Among those conducting the conferencing of the 81 parliamentary and local council petitions at the Court of Appeal include Court of Appeal Registrar Susan Kenyange, Alex Mushava Korocho, and Lillian Buchana. During the process of the conference hearing, this is where lawyers of both parties agree on issues to be determined by court. Now, before the case is filed, the case file is forwarded to the panel of three justices of Court of Appeal who hear the petitions. In the pre-hearing session, where media was denied access, some of the petitioners were handled and involved. Now, one for NUP's Joyce Bagala, challenging Mityana High Court decision of nullifying her victory following the suit filed against her by Lands Minister Judith Nabakova. Bagala, who was represented by his lawyer, Rias Rukwago, presented 8 grounds asking court to uphold her victory for Mityana woman member of parliament. Rukwago, however, expressed concerns over the cross appeal of Minister Judith Nabakova, which filed in the court challenging the High Court decision on whether the election were conducted within the electoral laws. Other appeals which came up for scheduling include NRM's Shakul challenging High Court decision for uploading NUP's Member of Parliament Joel Senyonyi's victory for Nakawa West constituency. Now, Senyonyi was represented by counsel George Musisi, and also Shakul was represented by lawyer Edris Asimwe.
And away from electoral petitions, we now move to matters of security, where a police counterterrorism team dismantled a terror cell in Lukaya and Butambala, leading to the arrest of 7 suspects. The police spokesperson, Fred Enanga, said these merging terror cells are targeting security personnel and have clear links to the Allied Democratic Forces, ADF. The revelation was made at the police weekly press briefing at Naguru Police Headquarters in Kampala, as our reporter brought you the story. Uganda Police is trailing different terror activities which are becoming mobile and autonomous in nature, mobilizing new recruitments towards ill agenda. According to police, these terror regroupings emerge as they target VIPs and security personnel. There are clear clues of their connection with the ADF. In Lukaya, Karungu district, one of the terror cells was dismantled, and another in Iburo, Butambala district, leading to the arrest of 7 suspects. Police territorial commanders have been cautioned on criminalizing civil cases as the intention of extortion. This follows an incident in which the Inspector of Police, Julius Ogwang, attached to Kira Road Police Station, was engaged in an adultery case. Police in Kabera Maido are holding Anne Joseph and Esapu George over killing their mother, Aparop Nora, after finding her in sexual indulgence with a different man other than their father. On the ongoing public condemnation of torture by security agencies, police have invited those allegedly tortured to report for proper investigations and scientific evidence to be established.
Well, in another story, the Parliamentary Committee on ICT has pledged to lobby government to fully fund UBC operations to allow it to implement the third phase of the digital migration and acquire new equipment. Now, during a visit by committee members to the Uganda Broadcasting Corporation headquarters and transmission sites, the MPs found that UBC is inevitably funded by government to meet its obligations. Now, UBC's Deputy Managing Director, Maurice Mugisha, presented a 70 billion shilling budget to the committee to facilitate the national broadcaster for this and the next financial year. Now, time check was 9 a.m. The Parliamentary Committee on ICT arrives at UBC for the on-site visit. Now, they were received by UBC's management, led by the Deputy Managing Director, Maurice Mugisha. Now, these MPs are also members of ICT Committee of Parliament and responsible for UBC. They were taken through the national broadcaster's premises, including radio and TV stations. At the end of the tour, the MPs were able to understand the challenges faced by UBC, most of which are inadequate financing by government. It's from here that MPs have pledged to lobby government to finance UBC's budget to offer the broadcasting services to the public. UBC for the last 10 years has either been not funded by government or underfunded, and that has seen the equipment get to a bad state and also the station running on dates. Now, UBC's Deputy Managing Director, Maurice Mugisha, presented a 70 billion shilling budget to the committee, which he says will help solve the short and medium challenges of the national broadcaster, UBC.
Now, hundreds weighed at Valentine's Day ceremony in Mexico. That's our first story, international news, where we're looking at with tears in their eyes and smiles beneath their faces and masks. More than 660 couples tied the knot Monday at Valentine's Day mass wedding in Mexico. Now, the newlyweds included Francesco Calvo, 74-year-old, Arabelso Silva, 67, and two widows who met 5 years ago. Now, I didn't think I would have another chance, but love arrived because love arrived. Smiling next to her new husband at the ceremony in the suburbs of Mexico City for Jonathan Garcia, a mass wedding is almost a family custom. Well, now into tying the knot quite tighter, we're looking at Ukraine's crisis, where Biden and Johnson Boris say still hope for diplomatic agreements. Now, the US and the UK leaders have said not all hope is lost for diplomatic solutions to the Ukraine crisis, but warned that the situation remains fragile. Now, in a 40-minute call, Joe Biden and Boris Johnson agreed to deal was still possible, despite a chorus of warnings of imminent Russian military action. Now, Russia has always denied the plans to invade Ukraine, despite massive deployment on the border. Now into Africa, Abba Kyari, Nigerian super cop arrested in drug cartel case. A highly decorated police officer in Nigeria has been arrested following accusations he belongs to an international drug cartel. Now, Abba Kyari also suspended for allegedly helping self-avowed fraudster, that is Hash Puppy, who laundered money in the US, is now accused in a cocaine plot. Officially says Mr. Kyari asked a colleague to help him, that is siphon off part of a cocaine haul. Now, they say he was caught on camera handing over, that is 61,000 in cash. He was not yet commented on the allegation. The Mr. Kyari arrest came hours after Nigeria's National Drug Law Enforcement Agency declared him a wanted man, accusing him of being a member of the drug cartel that operates in Brazil, Ethiopia, Nigeria, illicit drugs and pipelines.
The drought worst in 1,200 years. Now, the mega drought, which has gripped western USA, including California, Arizona, and over the past 2 decades, has been made substantially worse by the human-caused climate crisis. New research shows resulting in the region's driest periods in about 1,200 years. Now, scientists at the University of California, Los Angeles, NASA, and Columbia University found that extreme heat and dryness in the West over the past 2 years have pushed the drought that began in 2000 past the conditions seen during the mega drought in the last 1,500 years. Now, the authors of the new study, which was published Monday in the journal Nature Climate Change, followed up on the research they conducted in 2020 when they found that the current drought was the second worst on the record in the region after one that lasted for several years in the 16th century. Now, since the study was published, the American West has seen a heat wave so extreme that it sparked dozens of wildfires and killed hundreds of people, and the drought conditions which affected more than 90% of the area as for the last summer. Now, that has pushed the region's conditions past the extreme mark, that is according to the Los Angeles Times. The scientists examined wood cores extracted from thousands of trees of about 1,600 sites across the West, and using the data from this, they have come out with this report.
International stories, our local stories as well. We now want to take a look at our poll question so that we do come to engage you to be a part of the show by sharing your sense, your thoughts, and probably your own opinions into our poll question, and that Philo will do us the pleasure.
Well, several reports have been coming through showing that there is an increase in organ trafficking, organs like the liver, lungs, and heart being the most sought after organs. Now, we would love to find out from you this morning what you think government can do to eliminate organ trafficking in Uganda. The hashtag is UBCGMU, and of course you can send us a WhatsApp or an SMS text. The number is 0709 602 592.
Well, as we do await your contribution, we also want to bring to you the big man himself, Uncle Bob.
Like Felix rightly said, the big man is here just to remind you that your health is your priority. Of all things, life is paramount, and you need to ensure you boost the immune system of your body, or boost your body immune system by simply moving to the nearest supermarket or retail shop and get yourself either Hallelujah Tamarind or Hallelujah Ginger tea drink. These were certified by the Uganda National Bureau of Standards. They're very tasty, and of course I believe you'll enjoy as much as you get the health benefits that are attached to consuming this.
Well, on top of all that, we want to crown up this particular hour with a song for the day. Now, we will meet again in the next, that is the hour or the clock, hour of 7, where we'll be discussing our newsroom. But for now, let's take a look at our song for the day. We anticipate this song will energize you, lift your spirits high, and give you a better day. We don't know what happened yesterday.
Live from UBC Studios in Kampala. This is Good Morning Uganda. Live from UBC Studios in Kampala. This is Good Morning Uganda. Live from UBC Studios in Kampala. This is Good Morning Uganda. Live from UBC Studios in Kampala. This is Good Morning Uganda. Live from UBC Studios in Kampala. This is Good Morning Uganda. Live from UBC Studios in Kampala. This is Good Morning Uganda. Live from UBC Studios in Kampala. This is Good Morning Uganda. Live from UBC Studios in Kampala. This is Good Morning Uganda. Live from UBC Studios in Kampala. This is Good Morning Uganda. Live from UBC Studios in Kampala. This is Good Morning Uganda. Live from UBC Studios in Kampala. This is Good Morning Uganda. Live from UBC Studios in Kampala. This is Good Morning Uganda. Live from UBC Studios in Kampala. This is Good Morning Uganda.
Pick of the day on UBC, brought to you by
how to get points. Just use MTN to make calls, send SMS, load airtime, buy bundles, or pay for MTN subscription services.
Everywhere you go, MTN.
Raising voices.
I feel happy when my mother spends time with me. I hope all mothers will like my mother. I want my mother to reach out to all mothers. She knows how important it is to be a good mother. I promise to help my mother inspire other mothers to change.
In this time of COVID, what is your promise to the children of Uganda? Because a violence-free childhood is everyone's right. Raising voices.
Our Ugandan story isn't a new one. It's not about where we come from. It's about what can be accomplished when we're working, living, and growing together. It's about speaking the same language, the language of progress. We're Ugandans building Uganda with Ugandans, skilling Ugandans and developing competencies required in the oil and gas sector, partnering with Ugandan businesses to achieve greatness. We're here to build because at the end of the day, we're truly Ugandan.
This is Good Morning Uganda.
Of the hour, it is Good Morning Uganda, and we just want to remind you that in case you've just joined, we're here every weekday from the hour of 6:30 to the hour of 9, and Jagenda also comes in with Good Morning Uganda Extra. Now, this is a segment, a newsreel, where we pick one of the stories that is trending and we give you an in-depth analysis onto issues that partake the content of that story. For over a period of time, we've been having a number of complaints coming in from domestic workers that work in Mosul, to be more particular in Saudi Arabia, claiming some have got tortured, others have got allegedly body organs being removed. And of course, you know that there's so much trade regarding human body parts. And the latest has been Judith Nyonyintono, where finally all these stories were confirmed by both government and of course the family, where this girl returned from Saudi Arabia and it was discovered that her right kidney was missing. Now, according to Agnes Wegoye, who happens to be the commissioner in charge of anti-human trafficking, and the CID spokesperson, Charles Twine, both confirmed this. And they said investigations have commenced to ensure that justice is prevailed. However, saying this is complicated in a way that it is cross-border crime, where according to our laws and the act, that is the Anti-Trafficking in Persons Act, if you have to look at Chapter 19, Paragraph A, more specific, such offenses can only be considered by the Attorney General to ensure that there is prosecution that happens on a person who commits crime, even when not committed on Ugandan soils. But we want to take a deeper analysis into what we call externalization of labor, where we've had a lot of complaints, and finally we get to this, confirming that there could be trade in body parts of these young girls that leave Uganda to go for greener pastures. Felix, we know labor externalization happens globally, and people leave their motherland, their home countries, to go and look for greener pastures. And government of Uganda, to be specific, with particular when we moved into domestic workers, we came up with proper laws and policies, and in 2017, government of Uganda and the government of Saudi Arabia, where we've seen most of domestic workers go, had a bilateral agreement on terms and conditions.
When you say that we came up with very good laws, it fits the purpose of our topic.
It doesn't, because Felix, this is what I mean.
You can have discussing.
No. These two things differ. For example, Uganda has very good laws. Implementation is where the challenge comes. You can have very good laws on paper, but if not implemented, because they don't work in vacuum.
A law is as good as how much it can serve its purpose. It is not good enough to say, even embaga y'abagore yanyumye, if they can't have children, because the purpose of union is procreation.
Assumably, there are those that
it is procreation. It is procreation. You can't Kirabo say you want to invest in marriage, build a house, ngo mulabako. This chimuli, you think it's a flower? Even when you water it,
let's not go down that lane. Let's stay to.
But back to the story. That's why I wanted to differ with you, Robert, when you say that we have very good laws. If the laws and the policies that are in were good, we shouldn't have this discussion. Because between you and me, you know that in as much as this Nyonyintono story has cluttered the news domain, there is so much that has not got a chance to get to the news. You are a senior journalist.
Actually, I was telling you before you came on set.
Absolutely.
A number of cases I followed up, and I have a belief.
Now, that's what I'm saying. That you know what makes a law good law, or what makes a policy a good policy. That people, that such a law is like in law what we call it's the one that lifts the veil. It pierces the veil. Now, the law must have the power to undress the perpetrators. Now, once a law can't do that, you can't say it is a good law. I don't know if you get the point. If people can still hide under the law, you can't say it's a good law. Human trafficking is a global crime. When you read stories in countries, in places like Kuala Lumpur, Mexico, Peru, Venezuela, you read stories South Italy, where there are many cartels there, around Milan, the Milan cities. You go to Asia, the Indian. Come to Africa, go to the West Horn, the Horn of Africa, the countries like Libya, those Arab. It is a global problem. And the very affected people in the world are people from the most poor countries. I heard you, Robert, talk about externalization of labor, that all countries do it. You see, you can't talk about externalization. It has levels. How many maids come from America to come to Uganda?
Never. Unless they're missionaries.
Even the poorest, even if they're missionaries, who told you they come to be made? In fact, they come, when they come, they're here to aid. You've seen the institutions from Italy, the Legion of Mary, you have the Focolare, you have the White Fathers, you have the Comboni missionaries, you have all these other NGOs in the Pentecostal, there are so many. Even if they come, they never come as
workers.
So it is wrong for us to talk about labor externalization. It is not qualified. They only, for that case, they come here as expatriates, and they are covered by the law. Have you seen?
Felix, just to chip in here, we are now handling two issues. One, previously Uganda had a problem of human trafficking in terms of domestic workers. I want to commend the Ministry of Gender, Labour and Social Development, plus these other organizations, that today human trafficking has been reduced. What now we are having is people that go through genuine, legitimate processes to leave the country. And what you are seeing is human body part trade that is coming in here, because these people, when you follow up human, in human body organs, because when you follow up, many of these girls that come up left Uganda, they were not trafficked, they went through proper channels. Reaching there is when they are tortured, when now we are seeing that actually there are all reasons they find to get them, maybe they are sick, and
you know,
when they go for this treatment.
When you say people go through legitimate, the word legitimate is a very broad word, my brother. If you want to use it where you already have criminality on the other side, it may not qualify. Because when you talk about legitimacy of a process, we must have all ends tightened. Both in Uganda, but the fact that you only have one side, and actually no side, because even when the directors, if you read the stories of the directors of the company that took the girl, they had no control, they had no information, they had nothing to do. So the legitimacy is questioned. And this is where we should engage government. You know, when I was watching this story over time, it caused me to get into the discussion that maybe we should push Parliament to rediscuss the aspect of a citizen and their rights, both on land and off mainland. You understand? When, for example, when and of course the spokesperson of the CID mentioned it, that when does the country cease to have control over their citizens? Is there a point where Uganda cannot be liable for their own citizens? What are the barriers? What are the limitations? How do we deal with them? Between you and me, that if you have a market of labor that is known, and you know you have over 1,000 people, I think it's even more than
12,000.
12,000. And that they are certain. This number, why don't you find a conclusive way of dealing with their problems? When these girls come here, they tell you about the stories of the embassies, how they try to contact the embassy, they attach. You've heard the stories.
Actually, let me just give you a point of information. I've been following this, and this is where I find it a bit scrupulous. Disturbing. In 2017, when our government of Uganda and government of that is the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia signed these bilateral relations that stipulate clearly the contracts, the terms of work, it was envisaged that after 3 months, they're going to form a technical committee from people in Saudi Arabia and people in Uganda here. And this technical committee was supposed to ensure that they coordinate these two ministries, coordinate effectively. It was also recommended that government of Uganda must have attaches there, where if these girls have some problems, these are placed there by government to quickly handle these issues. I want to bring it to your attention, many years down the road, it is after these stories came up, we saw a minister, I think, leave on between the 23rd and 28th. She was there and met her counterpart. This is when they woke up and said, for all this time, we've not had this technical committee. Now let the technical committee go and establish these challenges, then come up with a report. Then again we meet as ministers, and that is around March, to iron out a few of these issues. So there has been a bit of, I want to say either relaxed mode or not priority
no, you see,
or lack of funds into this.
And the challenges for us as Ugandans is that, and this I want to put straight to the eyes of whoever is interested. We are not in these negotiations as desperate people.
But we seemingly are.
We just put ourselves in that position. The people in the Dubais of this world, the whatever, the Arab Emirates, they need the work we support more than even us who need that work.
Well, Felix,
and let me tell you why.
I can prove you've not been, because when you speak to many, let me just give you this point of information.
Let me tell you why, before you give me your information. The reason why you see an uprise in the numbers of the people who are going today is because other countries have pulled out because of the same reasons we are dealing with. People from Singapore have been in Dubai more than you Ugandans. People from the Philippines have been there. People from the West Africa. But now, because of all these atrocities, the torture, the abuse, the bad treatment, they have pulled out. I want you to tell me, if you think that those people are more desperate for people to go and work, how many companies today are advertising on TVs and radios for work?
We have over 200 registered companies
and I can
that
tell
are dealing in this
to the point that even this service is even paid for from that side. Those are all symbolic.
We call them sponsors.
These are all symbolic. That by the time you even recruited here, they pay your ticket, they have paid. Even the person who has gotten you has been paid their commission already. They need this manpower more than you who's looking for a job. Now, how do we use this as a leverage to negotiate better welfare to our people? Are we having the right discussions as the government?
Or do we go seemingly vulnerable at the table of negotiation?
Now, that's what I'm saying, that we are making ourselves vulnerable, yet we are actually not. I've given you, I gave you an example of some countries like the US, which many people will say is unfair. But we're only talking about it in terms of welfare, state welfare, citizens' welfare. That some countries, I want to remind you of a scenario here. Remember when the government of Uganda arrested the musicians from Nigeria, the likes of Omale and Thames. Every Nigerian put up a spirited fight. Remember the issue of the xenophobia when Nigerians were being attacked in South Africa. Everyone in Nigeria put up a spirited fight. The artists, politicians, actresses, actors. What am I saying? We cannot accept to be vulnerable. These things, between you and me, Robert, you've been in the media even for longer than myself. How many stories have you people done about the torture in these countries? But we never tire. And I can tell you.
But Felix, yes, I remember government of Uganda 2 times in 2011, and if I've not forgotten, around 2018, suspended labor externalization of domestic workers following such. But I think the problem then that followed is not much was done, because we saw that 2 countries come together, then they said we've ironed out a few issues, and here we are back at the same drawing board.
Uganda saying, you have a thief in the house, then you bring a panga. I say, so did you actually wamutemi? So when you tell me the government came, did what, are we seeing the results? Have the stories of human rights abuse reduced or on the increase? Now, we are from human rights to organ trade. So, did those avenues work? Are we doing the right thing, honestly and truly? Are we having the right negotiations? You get the point, Robert. When you see the stories of these girls, I don't know how true some of them are, because they never come out to some never come to the domain of news for accreditation. We hear people are beaten, tortured, thrown over buildings, all these things.
Recently, you had one who was found in Egypt. She went to Saudi Arabia, and the body, even returning it, was a problem. Some have lost lives, some have lost body parts.
And it's what we are saying.
Some have gotten permanent damage.
We need to deal with this externalization of labor more seriously. The problem, in my opinion, why you see, Robert, that people are dealing with this, you know, luxuriously. We have tainted labor externalization a priority of the very poor people and vulnerable. That's why you've got names like the Kadamas, the one that we are looking at these beautiful young girls, these sisters of ours, these daughters, these mothers, as what they have gone to do is the last thing they could do. And we have not paid attention to the fact that in as much as they are poor and vulnerable, they are Ugandans, they are sisters, they are daughters, they are wives, they are mothers. We have put our eyes off the fact that let us support this group of people. And let's not judge. We are like, I want to tell you, if this issue was happening to maybe a cluster of maybe people who are rich in this country, remember the issue of corona, when people were stuck in China, government sent money. Government sent money to those students because they were from a particular class. You remember? It sent money for them to be well. Kids were saying, but we need this, we need that. Government said, you are our children. Get?
This amount.
Now, these are the Kadamas of yours. Because they are daughters of Nkunda, the Kirabos, who knows? They will suffer. Now, we need to have a sober mind and look at this thing generally as a national problem. You get it? Because these people don't even have, they can't get to TV, they can't get to radio, police, they will not get audience.
They can't follow up in courts of law.
They don't have money.
So
they have nothing. But remember, we're looking at over 12,000. This is a big number.
Felix,
and remember also how much money they bring into. Let us organize this sector. Let us have the right negotiations. These are countrymen and countrywomen, for that matter. They are our children, they are mothers, they are wives, and they deserve a decent. I saw, if you see the video of that Nyonyintono lady, Kirabo, imagine that was your daughter.
Well, Felix, I want to bring in this school of thought. You know, when I was following up a number of these stories, this is what came in. One commissioner asked me that, Robert, every day on daily basis, through Entebbe Airport, we have about 500 girls
who are leaving.
Then we register few cases, and the media, you seemingly blow it out of proportion.
Who said that?
Seemingly, you know, if you have over 12,000 girls, and you have one or two of these cases, and said, even here back home, domestic workers are being mistreated. They're having these challenges. So why don't we look at the good we have than blowing out the bad, yet even hope these issues are happening? That what happens here, one just lands into a bad employer. Because even here in Uganda, the people will mistreat housemates, the people will not give them food. So there is this that may be seemingly not looking at the good, and we are overblowing. That is the few incidents, according to the few incidents that are happening. Yet this is something that has provided employment to many Ugandans, something that is bringing a lot of money into our treasury. And if we continue doing this, then there is fear that the government, the other side, may even suspend such an opportunity for Uganda.
It would be very unfair if we sat here between you and me, Robert, on national broadcaster, by the way, and that's a matter of fact, and we start to lie. You get the point. If whoever you talked to was saying that you are lying about these things, that would be a different case.
We are creating a mountain out of an anthill.
Yes. That is his opinion, and he's entitled to it. And do you know why it's his opinion?
There were a number of successful stories.
And we celebrate. The first thing we talked about here is how much money comes in the country. The first thing we shall talk about is the job employment gap for the informal sector, which we celebrate every day. And we shall never stop talking about it. But because there is good, we cannot shut our lips to the evil that also happens. Because guess what? These things that happen are inhuman. We are not going to trade the lives, the health and welfare of our sisters or brothers because we are getting something good. It reminds me of that story, if you have heard of it, where someone said, Nasekulabirira mulwadde. You get the point. And the Baganda was saying Ebola liachi. So all those things, we take cognizance.
Every life matters.
It does. The success stories, we celebrate them on a daily, and we applaud government for all these initiatives. But we are only saying, how about we do more? That we are not doing enough in terms of protecting these girls off mainland. Let me say this lastly. Robert, the challenges of workers internally are cognizant, like we are aware of them. And those ones we condemn also on a daily. But Robert, if you're ministered in Uganda, what does it take you? You simply say, I want your wow.
I don't need a passport.
Yes. But if any of you has traveled through Addis Ababa, and I stand to be corrected, whoever is watching, myself I've been a victim more than 7 times. You will meet girls in Addis Ababa on the airport. And they are calling every person who's black, maybe another ticket to Uganda, they will help. Any of you can testify who has been through, mostly they use Ethiopia Airlines. If you've been through Ethiopia, in transit over there, go to the airport, they're there crying. What is the matter? They were using me, dogs were using me. Oh, you've heard these stories even from other. We are not saying there's nothing good in this. Actually, for a matter of fact, the good things in labor experimentation are very much more than the challenge, than the bad things. But we shall not stop to talk about the challenges, because it's our duty as the fourth estate to bring this to life. Imagine if one of the media houses did not do this story.
Such a story, who would know that this really exists?
Even the police wouldn't be commenting, the community wouldn't be saying, because, and we hope that you don't sit on these things. We are hoping, because also that will come out. If you people who are in these offices and these ministries, you're sitting on these files, thunder on you. Because we shall know. But you cannot demean the media for coming out to bring to light some of these things. Because these people's lives also
matter.
So we are only praying that government, through your agencies, which we believe are very credible, you have trained people, you have good personnel, studied, exposed. Let's have the right negotiations. Let's use our leverage to have the right negotiations. Every life of a Ugandan matters. Rich, poor, what, from where, it does matter, because it comes, the accountability. And let me say this lastly, whatever you officers don't do in government, it goes on the head of state. For example, if some of us who are hearing stories today, no one ever said that Minister Kirabo in the times of Obote did not follow well people who are working in. They say, Omulembe Obote, abantu babakutirangewa ebulaya. So
well
the
said,
accountability
Felix.
is on the head
well
of
said,
state.
Felix. One thing that comes out clear is every life matters. Well, there's a ray of hope after seeing that is the Minister for Labour, Gender and Social Development fly to Saudi Arabia to have issues discussed and put on table. We hope they'll expedite the process of justice where human rights have been violated, where body parts have been lost, where lives have also been lost, as stipulated in the law and the agreements that they came across. It is very important that we promote externalization of labor, but it must be safe, because every Ugandan is a priority to Uganda. When we return, we'll be looking so much on what is in the print media, and the traffic officer is very ready there on the road to give you more regarding how you can easily get to your destination. Good morning.
Start the year off with my Airtel 4G smartphone. You get to enjoy free 1 GB data valid for a month and 100% bonus data every month for 3 months at only 250,000 Uganda shillings. This includes free data spread over 3 months worth 86,500 Uganda shillings, making the effective price of the 4G phone 163,500 Uganda shillings only. Visit the nearest Airtel shop and get one today. Airtel, the smartphone network.
It's no secret that ICT makes learning easy.
The strides made in our field couldn't be possible without it.
And now we can watch our favorite shows.
My radio is my best friend.
UCC provides an enabling regulatory environment and policy guidance for healthy competition. We also facilitate ease of doing business in the communications sector through licensing, standardization, spectrum management, tariff regulation, rural communication development, and consumer empowerment. An informed consumer is an empowered consumer. UCC supports local content and innovations. Driving the development of a robust communication sector in Uganda is Uganda Communications Commission.
Our Ugandan story isn't a new one. It's not about where we come from. It's about what can be accomplished when we're working, living, and growing together. It's about speaking the same language, the language of progress. We're Ugandans building Uganda with Ugandans, skilling Ugandans and developing competencies required in the oil and gas sector, partnering with Ugandan businesses to achieve greatness. We're here to build because at the end of the day, we're truly Ugandan.
Raising voices.
I feel happy when my mother spends time with me. I hope all mothers will like my mother. I want my mother to reach out to all mothers. She knows how important it is to be a good mother. I promise to help my mother inspire other mothers to change.
In this time of COVID, what is your promise to the children of Uganda? Because a violence-free childhood is everyone's right. Raising voices.
Live from UBC Studios in Kampala. This is Good Morning Uganda.
Now just 26 minutes to the hour of 8, want to take you through what's in the papers. Now in the Daily Monitor, government Mengo deal invalid. Now minister comes out to say, but also still in the same papers, we give you a couple of tenders and deals at URA, UNOC, Chira Motors, just to mention but a few. But of course in pictures here, torture victims ask UN to stop funding Uganda Human Rights Commission. Reasons as to why, they will give you all of those in the papers, but also still in the headlines. Now government to vet all civil servants in cities and do not report adultery cases to us, police comes out to say. Now security busts alleged terror cell.
Look at the big headline, tough rules issued for school loans. And all government schools must have a similar fees structure. And also President in Dakar, Senegal on a working visit there, telling you what exactly happened on this visit. And also taking a look at how police bust terror cell in Butambala. And also tough measures have been put on compulsory acquisition of land. And also government, we haven't allowed schools to vaccinate kids. And they're also giving you what happened on Valentine's in pictures. So if you probably didn't take part, maybe you need to see what others did. So make sure you grab yourself a copy of the New Vision to find out. And also the cost of certification. Now this is in regards to oil jobs, the opportunities in Uganda. There is a COVID tracker there for you, and also today in history. So get yourself a copy and see all these stories.
Now still in the same papers in sports, shortfalls that led to Bossa sack, where we see there normal love, I love you express is red, so is Valentine's, but I was all blue at Wangukuku with the sacking of coach Waswa Bossa yesterday. Now they give you a detail into why he had to say bye-bye to the one of the best teams of all times. That is for me, and definitely also team for my king. Now UEFA Champions League, so that is a Cancelo says City deserves the title, but also inside the paper you see sports can use its popularity to professionalize Rukare, says there. But also Chi corporate leave Kawempe Muslim to grass. Now 1990 when Maradona turned Italian giants against Italy. Wow, this one I know Ruben will have a comment about it. We see here in photo Maradona leaves Italy's Salvatore Bani gasping there when he went past him and he gave them a bloody nose.
And in the New Vision Sport, we take a look at the big story, track, and they're giving you the details of the Steven Kiprotich who won in 2012, and also Halima Nakai, who is a world champ. What are they doing right now? And also in the inside pitch, what is next for Mbappe? And also your weekend scoreboard is here: the English Premier League, Germany Bundesliga, the French Ligue 1. All these are, they're all in the paper. There is also Spanish La Liga and the Italian Serie A.
Remember, our Fridays are normally matched up with a beautiful combinations of what should be happening now. Of course, we'll be telling you more what quite splendid in terms of music. But back into the Daily Nation, we'll be looking at the making of Loud Messi divorce. There, I have always said civility is not cowardice. Wow. Okay. Now, much of those again really much by
Well, this morning we did pose a question up to you where we wanted to find out from you, what can government do to eliminate organ trafficking in Uganda? And we do have feedback from a number of you. And starting off with you, Alberto, you're saying, well, housemaids should be checked on every month to ensure that they are safe by Ugandan authorities, both local and international. And from James Okalebo, you're saying, well, I think government must strengthen the intelligence team to get rid of this nonsense which is going on in Uganda, and to the would-be victims should be punished heavily, and that will act as a deterrent to the rest. And Warawa Richard is saying government should eliminate organ trafficking through putting CIDs in companies. And also on WhatsApp, some of you came through, and this gentleman says the government needs to employ harsh punishment on those that are caught in the act to serve as an example for the rest. And also another one from you, Derek, is saying, good morning, family. The issue of organ trafficking starts with unprofessional and corrupt health workers. So the government must put strict laws to both doctors and the culprits caught in such acts. And still, issues like police taking dead bodies for further investigations and unnecessary post-mortem must be limited. Thank you so much, Derek. Well, the poll question still continues to run for the early part of the morning. We will still be feeding you in on the feedback that we continue getting from you. Well, we need to take it to the road right now. This morning, what is the situation like? Is it one that you'd probably look out for, or is it something that you really want to avoid? Well, from the look of things, it actually shows that most of the roads, at least in Kampala city center, are passable, and these are all the shortcuts, even the main roads. Today is a Tuesday, so usually it's the traffic is not as intense, it's not as heavy as it would be on a Monday morning. Now I'm going to focus majorly on some of the roads that you can get around with using as alternatives, as opposed to using the main roads, which is probably Bombo Road, which is Kampala Road. You know, these other roads like Nakasero Hill Road, taking a look at Lugard Road, Chagwe Road, if you are basically coming from Wandegea side, Buganda Road. And I'll be telling you some of the traffic updates on these roads. So if you are accessing or if you are trying to enter the city and you're coming from Wandegea, you can actually take a detour of Bombo Road. Bombo Road, the main the roundabout is a little bit crazy with the traffic. As you can see, these red lines show you that it is heavy, it's crazy. Even the orange spots, there is a traffic buildup, so meaning that in the next couple of minutes or the next couple of hours, it may not be exactly the passable one. But you can take a detour of this road as opposed to going all the way till you access Kampala Road. You could actually use other alternatives like Nakasero Hill Road, also Lugard Road, and you can also see that there are very many green lines here. We also do have Queen's Lane, which is very ideal for you to use. As you can see, all these green lines show you that the roads are blank or there are not very many motorists or road users, so it's a leeway for you to get to the city center as opposed to using the main road. Now when you do take this Nakasero Hill Road, Lugard Chagwe Road, all these will lead you to the main road, which is Bombo Road, that eventually connects you to Kampala Road. Now, as you can see, Bombo Road has some orange spots. Even Chagwe here, as you're trying to access, you know, the main road, which is Bombo, you can see there are some orange spots clearly telling you that there are very many other motorists who have probably used these alternative routes and they're trying to link into the main road. And also it's very important for you to know that while you are trying to join the main road, it's usually a little bit of chaotic. There is a little bit of mayhem because everyone is trying to get to the city center. They all collect at that point. So if you have used all the other alternatives, all the other shortcuts, eventually you have to join the main road. And I think that is what accounts for the traffic buildup usually at the linking spots. As you can see, they are very manageable, but also if you decide to still go ahead with the shortcuts, you can see you will go all the way till Lumumba Avenue. But as you are accessing Lumumba Avenue, also it's very important for you to note that that bit as you're joining the Speak Road, it's a little bit crazy, especially this red line. It is a stretch actually. It's a very long stretch on Nakasero Road as you join this roundabout. So you need to take important note. And also this orange shows you that there is a traffic buildup. Also the red shows that there are very many motorists there. Now this does not really cater for only one side. If you're leaving the city center, if you're entering the city center, I think it's very important for you to note. Now when you get to Speak Road, it's very fine. You can also see Shimoni Road here. Now this is majorly if you're coming from Parliament Avenue, if you're coming from Yusuf Lule Road, if you've used Nile Avenue. I think when you get here, it's a walk. It's a walk in the park, I could probably say that. And you can use all these routes to access City Square. And of course, when you do access City Square, you're more or less in the city center. So take notes if you are looking to get to the city center and you probably don't want to use the main road and you're coming from Wandegea side, because that is where I've put the focus. You need to take note of these roads: Chagwe Road, Nakasero Road, Lugard Road. All these, some roads are actually passable, others they may not exactly be as easy as you would want them to be. And we also have Princess Avenue there, which is an option for you to get to the city center. And I will also want to tell you that if you're not going to use Nile Avenue, if you're coming from Ginger side and you opt to still use the main road, you can see the red spots here, especially if you are crossing from Entebbe Road getting into Kampala Road. There is some traffic buildup. Like I told you, when you are linking to the main road, usually it's a bit crazy because there are very many cars that are also trying to access the main road. Well, that's it from the traffic updates. We will be having Mollen next, but before actually Mollen, you tell us what is happening in climate and the forecast. I did stumble upon a story where they were saying that pharmaceutical companies and health organizations there is a lot of danger they are posing to the world because they are disposing a lot of these chemicals, a lot of these medicines in our water bodies. Do you think this is going to, in one way or another, affect our environment?
Philo, you look at the fact that most of the chemicals that are disposed of by most of these big farmers these are just endangering even the species within the waters. Not just that, but you also look at the fact that this is something consumable. So if you are going to pollute the waters, even if it's lakes or rivers, that means you're having all those long-term effects. And over time, I think there are a lot of people have been ignoring the fact that pharmaceuticals actually do pollute most of the water bodies. And it's good that we're trying to see now some companies coming up and countries taking this seriously. Otherwise, this is a huge threat to humanity if we keep this around.
I think it would also be ideal for pharmaceutical companies like this and any other company that deals in a lot of chemicals and, you know, medicines to just get a standard way of disposing of all these unnecessary products as opposed to, you know, throwing them in the lakes and rivers. You actually think it won't have a long-term effect, but we will feel the effect. Anyway, that's it from the traffic updates. I leave you to Mollen, who is going to be giving you the forecast and also a lot more concerning the climate. Have a wonderful Tuesday morning. I am Philomena Mastiko.
Well, thank you, Philo. We will continue from that, but I also want to talk about the fact that we have seen most big companies, especially pharmaceutical companies, you know, put out the fact that they have disposals for their waste. But truth is, most of these disposing places that they talk about are actually water bodies. And this is why we're worried about it, because guess what? You look at the lives in the water bodies, including our fish and the coral reefs. If you are going to put all these chemicals within the waters, I think that is something that pharmaceuticals should be looking at, and also governments. It's not good enough that we leave these guys to operate because they're bringing us medicine that will heal us. But how about the fact that they are contributing to the cause of that? So I think that is a question to everybody looking into medicine right now. And in a world where we're looking at most of the things changing around us, you don't want to pollute the one thing that is keeping you alive, and that is our water bodies. So, well, I'll leave that up to you to judge. But also in other news, we are seeing much more of hectares of land being covered with wildfires. There has been a drought across parts of northern Argentina, and for the last couple of months also Southern America has been dealing with La Nina events. And La Nina events, we're talking about events where there has been mostly dry conditions, and that is like a continuous situation. So you have like 3 months of dry conditions across the area, and that is usually associated with La Nina events. Now, southern parts of America have been dealing with this, and now we look at Argentina, where at least over 300,000 hectares of land were, you know, covered by wildfires raging across that area. And we look at much more of the destruction. Close to over 6,000 people have been affected by these events of La Nina, and much of that, you look at the land that has been also taken away. Now, this is mostly for the areas that were covered over open land, and that is forests, but also much more of what has been involved in this area is that it has been, you know, green coverage for this place, and now you look at that being destroyed. This just adds to the fact that we've had a lot of wildfires in the USA even from last year, and now this year is also kicking off with much more of those events. Now you look at Argentina also dealing with something like that. Now also you look into the fact that we've had dry weather, not just across you know, Africa, because we recently were thinking about that long lasting drought across Madagascar, and much more of that are still over there, because it has stretched on from 6 months that we're talking about. That was anticipated that the drought might actually take on 6 months across Madagascar, has now also, you know, been taken up. Even up to now, we're still having those drought cases and looking into more of humanitarian, you know, relief for that area. So this is just adding to much more of these events that we're having across the country. But also coming in from the US as well is that at least they are looking into how much they can do in terms of climate action. It has been one of those countries that, you know, ever since Joe Biden took an administration as president of the USA, there's been a lot that is being done in terms of climate action. The first step was to rejoin the Paris Agreement, that is joining world leaders into having this global accord on climate change to make sure that there is action. And when we talk about countries like the US, these are big contributors
to developing countries' economy. So that means that their actions, even when they say we're going to chew in money to help developing countries also take on climate action, it is equally helpful. But also on their side, they're looking into phasing out coal, they're looking into much more of renewable energy. So that is one thing to actually applaud them for, even when they are at the forefront of this, because there has been a lot of extreme weather events over the US, compared to a lot of regions, and that is something that they have been working on. But still talking about dry weather, we also have seen a continuous drought across Saudi Arabia. Now, I think the good news, or it could be bad news, is that most of the species have actually, died off because of this drought. So that is bad news. Now, the good news is that some of the trees actually do produce seeds after being exposed to dry conditions for so long. So that picture there shows one of the trees that did survive the drought in Saudi Arabia. Now that is a researcher, Abdul, who was trying to collect the seedlings from these species of trees to actually keep them for the future. And now yesterday we did talk about a story on this world global vault of keeping seedlings, and for such trees that only give out seeds after being exposed to dry conditions, this was a rare one, and that was an advantage to them to be able to pick out those seeds and keep them for for the future. In the face of climate change, you really need this around. But so it's kind of good news, because now that's the only time you actually get the seedlings, otherwise it wouldn't get to that. But also if you look around that picture, most of other trees have been destroyed, so that means that only a few could actually survive the drought over that area. But also Saudi Arabia has been dealing with dry weather for quite some time, and most of the temperatures also going above 30 for that particular area. So you look at the fact that much more of the green cover in the area will be destroyed. Now what is starting to emerge is, just as a few rains start to come in, you have those small species of trees emerging, but much more of that was destroyed. We're only looking into the positive side of the fact that now you have seedlings coming up, and maybe probably could go into the seed bank that has been created as a global vault, and that is between Norway and the North Pole. One of the best places to actually have something preserved for the future. And by the way, we also looked at in the past some of the vaults that have been created to preserve things for the future, and in anticipation that climate change will only get worse. So even when we're talking about this, we have to consider the fact that it could be worse in the future, and all you can do is just prepare for it. Well, as well prepare for the weather for today, what we're tapping from the satellites over Uganda is that we're actually starting off with quite a sunny day across most areas within the country. It looks like much more of the country is having mostly clear skies. You look at all those open gray colors, that means we have the sun coming through, and that might be taking on for most areas within the country across several places. Now you do have a little bit of cloudy conditions developing, that is across the Lake Victoria Basin, but that is also over a few places, and we could be looking at mostly just cloudy conditions coming through, nothing really to ruin your day. Much of the areas we are seeing only open skies, and that could mean that over time we might be looking at a clear start of into Tuesday. Mostly it will be dry weather, and also you look at the fact that we could be continuing with that over even in the periods of the afternoon. But what we have also projections from satellites, and also some of the models that we have are indicating actually much more of dry conditions for today. Now that forecast has been done for today. We're seeing those open white colors, that's mostly northern Uganda, eastern Uganda, the Kirabo region. We also have southwestern Uganda, where we're seeing most likely we will maintain those dry conditions. Now where you see the blue colors, that's parts of the Lake Victoria Basin. That is where we expect a little bit of rains, but also from that faint color you can tell it's just going to be only a few showers. Now what is happening across the region is that we still have those low pressure systems that are developing over the Indian Ocean, and those are the ones that are now retracting some of those rain bearing clouds. If you look at how that blue stretch is looking like, it's only just moving in closely with the systems on the Indian Ocean, and those are the ones that are taking in all the moisture that we expect to have been coming towards the country, maybe contributing to a little bit of those rains. Now that there is that system close to Madagascar. Now that area is where we actually had recently a tropical cyclone that was birthed right over the area,
but looks like that area is still having a lot of low pressure systems. Those are tropical storms, and indeed they are attracting much more of the moisture, and that has taken away much of the rains across parts of East African region. And you look at mostly Kenya and Uganda having been affected by most of these tropical storms that are developing over the Indian Ocean. Now you look at tomorrow as well, because we do have that system still moving in towards Madagascar. Now it starts to move a little bit close to land, that is for parts of Madagascar. Now while it gets there, that means still we have much more of those moist winds coming through towards the low pressure system. Now where you're seeing that deep color is where we have like a center of this tropical storm. So that means that all the moisture will be coming here, and that also leaves parts of our country, and you can see there are parts of Kenya as well with reduction in wet weather activities. So that is looking into Wednesday. We're still going to have reduction in wet weather activities, still looking into the Lake Victoria Basin, likely to have a little bit of rains, but most of the rains for Lake Victoria Basin will be locally influenced. And still we're looking at much more of the systems. Where you see the deep red colors over the Indian Ocean, those are low pressure systems that we're still expecting over the Indian Ocean. And when those are there, we're still going to expect most of the moist winds to be coming here. So that means we will continue with the reduction in wet weather activities. That is what is keeping us with mostly this dry weather. Now the good news is that today we are actually launching the East Africa Center for Weather Prediction is starting off and kicking off with our prediction for a season. So this is good news. We have been waiting to see this seasonal forecast out, but now it is going to start off today, and we are looking into how East African region as a whole will be dealing with the rainy season for March to May. Now this is kicking off today. This is a seasonal forecast, and the theme for this year's GAC of 60 is also looking at early warning for early action. Now the rainy season forecast for East Africa will be out, and it is starting today, but also you can contribute to this conversation on Twitter, that is at hashtag GAC60, just to be involved in how the season is going to look like across your area, across your region. And this is from coming in from ICPAC, that is our East African Center for Climate Prediction, and they will be bringing us this forecast. Now what is highly anticipated is that we do have our rains kicking off for early March, but we do have some regions that are likely to start this season a little bit early. So that means we might be looking at early kickoffs also for some areas within East Africa, but we're still looking forward to that forecast. Uganda is involved, and now this GACOF actually brings together all key stakeholders when it comes to weather and climate information. So you do have the Uganda National Meteorological Authority in there. You do have ministries of water and environment for different countries within the region. You do have all the key stakeholders, disaster management. You have all these guys coming together to make sure that when this forecast is actually released, actually the media is also involved. The moment we have that press release, we're going to be giving you updates on how a season is going to fare. At least by end of February, we would know when to start planting. Now, I saw someone sending us a message, and that was on Twitter, asking for when the season is actually beginning. They did have a few rains across Western Uganda, just continuously for 3 days. Someone was wondering whether they can start planting. Now for me, I say no, don't start planting. Having those continuous rains are still off-seasonal, so you could be surprised that just after that, then you'll have dry conditions. So this is not the right time to start planting. Let's just hold on a little longer until we have that forecast and we know which specific areas are good for you to get on the go. But well, we'll be bringing you that, and now I will be off to also get into how GACOF looks like. But remember, you can also contribute and be part of this forecast. That is at hashtag GACOF60. That is on Twitter and all other social media platforms. You'll be able to join the conversation or even register and attend the conference. Get it from the scientists themselves who are behind this seasonal forecast. I will leave you at that, but we do have Good Morning Uganda agenda coming up. Robert will be here. Later we'll be having sports from Ruben. Also after that, we have Good Morning Uganda Extra coming your way. My name is Mollen, Kenyena. Please do stay with us.